Now let's talk about what is chemical bonding. So in this video, I'm going to show you the simplest meaning or the simplest way what chemical bonding is. And we will be talking two types of chemical bonding and the difference between the ionic and covalent bonding. As you know, if you try to search in Google, you will see a lot of meaning about ionic and covalent bonding in which you will be like confused because there are a lot of meaning in there. But in this video, I'm going to show you the simplest meaning about ionic and covalent bonding. Now let's go with ionic bonding first. So when we talk about ionic bonding, it talks about the bond between metal and non-metal. Silingon, combination sa metal and non-metal. So ano pa yung meaning ang gusto nyo i-add? Di ba mo na pinaka-simplest meaning? The combination between metal and non-metal. Now let's have an example kung ano gid ang itsura or ano ang gawa pag mag-combine ang metal and non-metal. So this is how periodic table looks like. I have separated metals, metalloids, and non-metals in colors. In your periodic table, base matingala ka mo nga lain-lain in color man sa inyong periodic table. Now it varies. Sa kada periodic table, lain-lain in a color. Ang importante ma-identify ko lang is kung ano dira ang metals, metalloids, and non-metals. Ang pinaka-importante dire is metals and non-metals for us to identify if it's ionic or covalent bonding when they bond or combine. Now, in this example, all in red color are metals and then all in blue color are non-metals. So it's easy to identify in your periodic table when you try to look on this example. So non-metals, we have the blue color. We have hydrogen, carbon, phosphorus, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, chlorine, fluorine, bromine, iodine, astatine, and then the rest of them. And then metals are all in red color. So we have lithium, beryllium, there's a lot of them. And then metalloids, we have only a few. We have boron, silicon, germanium, and the rest. We have also tin, and the rest of them. So just try to examine and then try to get your periodic table and then try to match this example on your periodic table. But don't be confused if you have different color in your periodic table. Okay? Hindi masala. Okay lang na siya. Just try to check the metals and then non-metals. Alright, so we have here now the examples of ionic bonding. So let's try to have one. The first one is sodium chloride. Now, as I said, ionic bonding is a combination of metal and non-metal. So we have here the first example, which is sodium chloride, is an example of a compound. And when we talk about compound, silingon combinations ang two or more elements. Now, how many elements do we have in sodium chloride? The answer is 2. We have 2 elements. So we have the sodium and chlorine. Now, they combine together to form sodium chloride. So, one of them is metal and the other one is non-metal because this is ionic bonding. So, which one is metal? That's right. Sodium is metal. And then the non-metal element is the chlorine. So, metal plus non-metal, and that is ionic bonding. Another example is we have the magnesium oxide. So we have also 2 elements combined to form magnesium oxide. And those elements are magnesium and oxygen. Now which one of the 2 is metal and which one of the 2 is non-metal? Now the metal is the magnesium and then the non-metal is the oxygen. Next example is we have calcium hydride. The first example, the first element is calcium, and the second element is hydrogen, and they combine together to form calcium hydride. Now, question is, which one of the 2 is metal? That is calcium. And then the other one, of course, must be the non-metal. You notice in these 3 examples, the first element is always metal. And then the second element is non-metal, which is, you have the right observation. That is correct. And let's talk about what is covalent bonding. This one is different from the ionic bonding because ionic bonding is a combination of metal and non-metal. But this covalent bonding is a combination of two non-metals. So in a compound, all of the elements are non-metal. Let me show you an example. Okay, examples of covalent bonding. Number one is we have dihydrogen oxide. I know that you know what dihydrogen oxide or what H2O is, right? Tubig. So kung magbakal ka sa kantin or sa kung diin mo ang baligya, nambalo mo ng gabantay na mabakal ko dihydrogen oxide. Hindi sa kabalo. So it has to be water. Water is the market name or the commercial name, but dihydrogen oxide is the chemical name of H2O. Wow. Now notice that H2O, we have two elements, but these two elements are all non-metals. We have the hydrogen and the oxygen, and they combine together to form dihydrogen oxide. And that is an example of covalent bonding because both of them are non-metals. So hydrogen is non-metal, oxygen is non-metal, and that is covalent bonding. Second is we have the carbon dioxide. So the first element is carbon, the second element is oxygen, and they form as carbon dioxide. And also another example of covalent bonding, combination of two nonmetals, carbon and oxygen. Next is we have the hydrochloric acid. Later on the next video, I will show you how to name these compounds, why we come up with hydrochloric acid and carbon dioxide and with dihydrogen oxide. So the nonmetal here is hydrogen and another nonmetal is fluorine. Okay. Now you just have to remember what are the diatomic elements. These diatomic elements are all nonmetals. And most of the time, you will see all these elements in a compound. So we have the hydrogen, nitrogen, fluorine, oxygen, iodine, chlorine, and bromine. So there is like a shortcut for you to easily remember all these 7 diatomic elements. So have no fear of ice cold beer. Beer lang ha, Red Horse or... Now let's have a practice. Have the first compound, this is calcium nitride. What do you think is the type of chemical bonding that we have here? Is it ionic or covalent bonding? Alright, that is ionic bonding. Another example, we have carbon monoxide. The first element is carbon, the second element is oxygen. So what do you think is the type of bonding? Exactly, covalent bonding. Next is we have the aluminum sulfide. And the type of bonding is? Ionic bonding. Next example, we have the lithium chloride. And the type of bonding is? Alright, ionic bonding. And the last example is we have the hydrogen bromide. What do you think is the type of bonding that we have? And that is, okay, covalent bonding. Good job. I hope you understand what we discussed or what's the difference between ionic bonding and covalent bonding. And I hope you understand whenever you see a compound, you will identify or you will know if it's ionic bonding or covalent bonding. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you on my next topic. Goodbye.